Laboratory hazards. 1. Fire and extended UV occur in laboratory. When using organic solvent, the best way to prevent this is not to leave a flame in the laboratory. Boiling organic solvent must be done only in a hot tub. Do not heat the hot plate directly and do not release volatile organic solvents in the beaker without a lid, as the vapor of solvent will splash along operating table. 2. Explosions are usually caused by boiling chemical or reacting in gaseous contents before starting distillation or starting to react. Make sure that there is a vapor drain channel out of the system. Another case in the reaction between chemicals that are prohibited to mix, which usually occur because they are unknown. The dangers of the explosion in the two broken glass fragments and chemical splash on the body. 3. Scorched skin. The cause may be chemical acid in the body at heat release functions due to various types of chemicals, such as acid and base. It has a corrosive property on the skin, so avoid direct contact. If spilled on the floor of the operating table or anywhere, it must be cleaned immediately if the spill is large. The laboratory staff must be notified to handle it. When exposed to even a little chemical, wash with clean water for at least 15 minutes. But if you are exposed to a wide area, take off your clothes and whip them or absorb them from the sample quickly. Then they wash up using emergency washes for at least 15 minutes. 4. Glassware. The most common accident is during the use of glassware and thermometers. When wearing glassware and another glassware or hot, the correct practice is to lubricate the glassware using water or grease applied tightly to the joints of the glassware or the area to be worn thoroughly. Then hold the device in a position away from the tip you want to wear. Connect about 1 inch, then put it on or insert it together at a slight pressure while slowly rotating the device, moving the handle and repeating it to the desired distance. When done, remove it by moving it slowly and exerting a little tensile force. 5. Inhalation of chemical vapor. All chemicals have a vapor pressure. In the laboratory, there is a strong smell of vapor of chemicals. If a large amount of chemicals are stored, there will be a loss of chemical vapor in the atmosphere. When inhaling the vapor of certain chemical is irritated the nose, throat, and lungs. The harm depends on the type of amount received into the body. Therefore, it is necessary to avoid inhaling chemical vapor directly. If inhalation is required, all the chemical containers about 6 each away from you and use your hand to blow close toward your nose if you want to evaporate the solvent. It must be done in a hot or by distillation. 6. Chemical in the mouth. There are three commonly seen chemicals in the mouth. Mouth sucking. Do not wash your hand when strained with chemical, and secretly eat candy or snacks in the laboratory. Preventing chemical from entering the mouth, simply use a rubber ball or chemical suction device to prepare. Always wash your hand when strained with chemical, reducing the chance of chemical contamination on the face due.
I'm gonna talking about safety equipment. Let's start with film hood. We use film hood when working with hazardous chemicals such as flammable, toxic, and corrosive substance. It must be done in a film hood, which is designed to suck the vapor of various chemicals. During the experiments to the outside of the room and the building, the apparatus and the experimental kit should be set deep into the frame hood, about 6 to 10 inches from the front to increase efficiency to suck up the film hood when the reaction begins. The film hood guard window must be pulled down to a level that allows hand to pass through easily. And do not put your head into the smoke house with the floor and glass window as soon as chemicals spread, and after each use. Then pull the glass window down so that it is about 1 to 2 inches above the cabinet floor. Next is emergency eye wash. We use emergency eye wash when the chemicals pass into the eye. The eye must be flushed immediately within 15 seconds using an emergency eye wash. The victim eye must be open wide, and the emergency eye wash push bottom is placed to allow the water to fully enter the eye for approximately 15 minutes and then seek medical attention.
Wash your hands or use hand sanitizer. Remove contact lenses or glasses. Before touching your eyes, put on gloves. Following the manufacturer's directions, turn on the eye wash unit. If it is a plumbed unit, the control valve should remain on until the unit is manually shut off. The normal reflex is to close your eyes tightly, but to remove all of the contaminated material, you need to hold your eyelids open with your thumb and index finger to ensure adequate rinsing of the entire eye and eyelid surface. Avoid aiming the water stream directly onto the eyeball because it could cause discomfort or damage. Flush your eyes and eyelids for a minimum of 15 minutes, rolling your eyes periodically to ensure complete removal of the foreign and possibly dangerous material. Properly remove your gloves and dispose of them in a waste container. Then wash your hands or use hand sanitizer again.
Next is emergency wash. We use emergency wash when the chemicals spill over the body over a large area immediately. Remove the contaminated coating and with or mop as much of the chemical is released as quickly as possible within 15 seconds. It flushes the chemical out of the body using an emergency body wash and wash yourself for about 15 minutes, then immediately take him to the doctor. And next is alarm. Alarm we use when an accident or an accident in the laboratory, which is very dangerous and cannot manage by yourself. An alarm signal must be sent immediately by pulling down the lights, after which the laboratory and building must be rushed to the assembly point.
นะครับผมก็จะกดปุ่มเลยนะฮะเดี๋ยวสัญญาณจะดังนะฮะกดปุ่มลงรอสัก
Next is a fire extinguisher. A fire extinguisher is a device for extinguishing a fire that has begun to form. This is also a small fire to prevent further fire from spreading. There is enough fire extinguisher in the fire extinguisher to extinguish the fire in a short time. Therefore, the laboratory staff or related person should be trained in the use of fire extinguisher in order to have the ability to extinguish fire in a timely manner.
In this video, John's just going to show us how to use a dry chem fire extinguisher. So obviously he's got a bit of an issue at the back there, he's got a fire going, he's identified he needs to put that out. He gets up to the extinguisher, has a look for the pressure gauge to make sure that the extinguisher does have enough pressure in it and the tags are still in. He then removes the safety pin straight out, gives it a test fire off to the side, make sure that it is going to work, upwind so he doesn't get a face full of it. Approaches the fire from upwind, he's going to be doing a sweeping motion and he's just going to lay that right into the top of it there, chasing it into the corners, and then what he's doing there is just making sure that he gets all the corners. Okay, turns around, comes back out, and puts the
And next is first aid equipment. First aid equipment used for first aid for minor injury such as sharp cut, scalp, scald, and burn. First aid kit including with wound thinner, disinfectant, Medicaid plaster, bandages, adhesive tape, gel for sunburn or skin burn, skull cotton wool, medical glove, trunk and scissors.
I think everybody is eager from laboratory safety, so everybody should strictly follow the rules in the lab and to prevent dangerous. General practice have 15 practice. Number 1. Study the schematic of the laboratory in order to know the location of the device and what it relates to security. Number 2. Must know the shortest path that can quickly access the building from the laboratory, and should study at least 2 ways out of the lab to be prepared in case of emergency. Number 3. Don't wear sandals or open-toed shoes with open heel. Wear low-heel shoes that cover your feet to prevent accident, spillage of chemical. Number 4. Dress appropriately. Don't wear shirts that are too tight or loose. Number 5. Only accessory items must be brought into the laboratory. Number 6. When entering the laboratory must be calm. Number 7. Don't sit or roam in the lab. Number 8. Don't eat food and snacks because there may be contaminated chemical which allow the chemical to enter the body. Number 9. Don't inhale and touch the chemical directly. Number 10. Don't conduct experiments although that those specified, and only follow the steps outlined in each trial. Prevent danger or accident from unexpected violent reaction. Number 11. Don't experiment alone in the laboratory. Number 12. Don't light and lamp candles or matches in the laboratory. Number 13. When seeing an accident or in accident that may cause an accident. Number 14. Always wash your hand after completing each step. Must be totally washed with soap before leaving the laboratory. Prevent chemical contamination. Number 15. If laboratory safety regulations and guidelines are not learned, it's when cause both accident and injury. Easy to save and co-worker.
Practice before starting the experiment. Read and study the experiment before entering the laboratory to know the purpose and the reason for doing every experiment step. Study the physical property and dangers of all chemicals used in the experiment. You can find this information from a number of sources, including handbooks such as the Marks Index and the Handbook of Chemistry and Physics. Practice during the experiment. Safety glasses must be worn at all times in the laboratory to prevent chemical or broken gas or anything else. Work clothes must be worn at all times in the laboratory to prevent spillage or splash chemicals. Gloves should be worn when working with corrosive, toxic, or irritating substance for a long time.
Must check the condition of every piece of glassware before using it every time. Read the name of chemical on the label on the bottle to make sure it is picked up correctly before using chemicals and before mixing any chemicals. If a small chemical spill less than 50 gram or 50 milliliters is spilled on the floor or on the laboratory table, clean immediately with the right method. When using electrical equipment, it should be checked that the wires connected to the two are not damaged. Always walk with care in the laboratory, especially when using flammable and low-fast point organic solvents and chemicals such as the ethyl ether. In the laboratory, there must be a room fire extinguisher. Commonly used are liquid carbon dioxide or chemical powder such as sodium bicarbonate. Dispose of the waste generated in accordance with the instructions specified in the experiment. Glassware must be washed thoroughly. Make sure that the power plug-in and package. Shut off the water valve and put all the equipment in place. The operating table must be wiped clean before leaving the laboratory. First aid in the event of an accident in the laboratory. Breathing wound. If the breathing doesn't stop, use the wrist of your hand to press on the artery at the crook of the arm or in the groin until enough blood seeps through. Small wound. Press down directly or use a thick spotted clean cloth to press down on the wound, lifting the wound higher than the heart. And remember, do not press until your leg or arm are pale or thin and rush to the hospital. Next is electric shock. Do not touch the victim before cutting off the power. And check breathing, check the pulse, check for burn, check for other injury, rush to the hospital. How to not check for burn? Brown burn, it is found mainly in the palm of the hand, and black burn are most common on the feet. Next is chemical spill on the skin. One is concentrated acid. Do not pour water to the rinse immediately after the acid has been spilled. Remove as much of the acid absorbent coat as possible. Wash with plenty of clean water and cover the wound with a clean cloth, then rush to the hospital. Moisten the wound with a cotton swab to clean the wound again with diluted sodium bicarbonate solution. 2 is concentrated alkali. Wash with plenty of clean water for about 15 minutes. Moisten the wound with a cotton swab to clean the wound again with acetic acid 1%. And next is chemical in eyes. Hurry to the nearest eye wash unit. Rinse off with clean water for 15 to 20 minutes. Close your eye with a clean cloth and rush to the hospital.